Fantastic.
Hi, welcome to Sustain Talks. Today I'm joined by Jessie Frahm, sustainability fanatic, I love that, and founder of Planet 1.5. Welcome, Jessie. So good to have you here. How are you?
So much. Yeah, I'm good. I've been really excited to do this. Thanks for inviting me.
It's great to have you here. I follow your content all the time and I was dying to have this conversation. You put so many good posts out there. But let's hear a little bit about you. Give us a bit of an introduction and how you got into sustainability.
Yeah, definitely. So I am Jessie, and the accent that I'm carrying around with me is originally Danish. So grew up in Denmark on the countryside, 4 years in Greenland before I, after university, eventually made the leap and moved to London, where I've been since 2014. I originally moved to London to work in brand and marketing. So you've seen my content. I mean, communication is really dear to my heart, but I also felt like marketing is just a part of a bigger problem, and sustainability has always been really close to my heart. So I essentially ended up just pausing my life and went to Cambridge University, studied sustainability, did various qualifications, and ventured out to start Planet 1.5.
Yeah, so many people make that move from marketing to sustainability as well. I've seen it so much, and I think because it's about the messaging, a lot of businesses are putting out a lot of messaging. But what does sustainability mean to you? I mean, obviously you've been through the CISL course, many of my guests have, but what does it mean to you?
It's such a good question. I think it's many things, right? But it really means leaving a legacy behind. I think I don't have kids, and that's a life choice. But I look at my niece, who's 3 years old, and I love her dearly. And it's, she's gonna grow up in this world that we created. And I just don't. I think we have a massive responsibility to actually leave something good behind for the next generations. Its purpose is kind of jumping off the hamster wheel and being like, hang on, what is it really that matters in life? And don't get me wrong, I'm also all about business and growth, and those things, but I just think there's something more than that, and I think sustainability have that element of bringing people together. So that's why I chose to go down that road.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I do believe it's about the next generation. I wish if we had some insight into where we'd be today, we may have continued doing things that we started 20 years ago. It just seems to evolved and got worse and worse and worse, and I think that a lot of it comes from consumerization, but you ultimately work with businesses to help them to become more sustainable. So what do you think that the biggest challenge to businesses are in doing that?
I think, well, so I'm distinguishing between, and that's really rough, but between two types of businesses. I look at the smaller businesses and the startups with one set of challenges, and then I look at the big corporates like with another set of challenges. Because when you're working with the big corporates, like we also are, we don't talk about entrepreneurship, but we talk about intrapreneurship. So you're having this dinosaur that you need to turn around while it's in motion, right? So how do we do that, and how do we get everybody on board, and how do we actually take the identity that we are known for as a business and step to a side and say, now we have this new identity where sustainability has to be everything? It's really hard because you're known for one thing, and you need to bring everyone with you in that. I hope that makes sense. So when you are a small business, it's more a, I want to go from being confused and not knowing if my efforts actually matter to having like almost a rule book of like, I need to do X, Y, Z so that I know that what I do is actually delivering change. So it's that kind of step-by-step guidance versus turning a ship around while you're in motion.
Yeah, so I know that you particularly work with transformation, and I've seen loads of really great transformations in companies. But what do you think that where do you think that transformation starts? You know, you talking to everybody in the company, you're talking to the C-suite. How do you transform a business from they're not doing anything to we
to
need to
doing
change?
everything?
Yeah.
You have some very long conversations with people in the C-suite, but I do genuinely believe that it has to be driven from the top, and you need to have leaders that understand how to navigate in context and understand how to empower people to actually take that responsibility downwards. I think it's a matter of not having control over everything, but setting an agenda where you're saying, if you have these leaders, and you might even like put it into KPIs or managers and say, you need to do X, Y, Z to achieve on your goals, then you can't at the same time go in and have a business mission, for instance, that are conflicting with that goal. So from the top, you need to start taking this really seriously. You actually, and that's what we do, we go and say, what are your mission of the business? And if that's short-termism, and we have businesses that's written in where it's saying we are working every day to like make sure our shareholders get paid, which, yeah, that's all well and good, but if they need paid in 3 months' time, that's going to conflict with your long-term agenda. So how do you actually stop, take a serious look at how that's going to impact the way you're now going to run the business, work that into KPIs of your top employees so they can take responsibility and make that fizzle downwards?
Yeah, I think that it's a challenge for a lot of businesses to start. You know, they don't know where to start. They want to do good, but they're like when you go into a business and you're like, right, okay, they want to be more sustainable, they want to be more socially responsible, they want to do good. What's the first thing?
Yeah, good question. I think the first thing is to take a step back and look at your business and be like, understand where you are today, because without understanding what it is that you are actually doing, and by what you're actually doing, I mean, who are your suppliers? Who is it that you're trading with? What is it actually that your product does? How does it leave a footprint in the world? So sit down and literally write out your business model, like write out your list of suppliers, write out where everything is going and your operation, and really get a thorough understanding. And from that, start identifying areas where you think you could do better. And then also accept in that round that you can't do everything at once. And I actually think that's okay. But the fact that you've done this exercise brings some consciousness to what it is that you're doing. And from that, you can start building actions into your business.
Do you think it's difficult? Do you like can anyone do it, no matter what size they are? And you know, often businesses say that they don't have the people within their company with the expertise, but is it simple to do that?
I think it's not simple, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
But I do think there are simple things any business can do. So it's a matter of where you're putting your own, if you're a one-man band, pension scheme. What bank are you signed up with?
Yeah.
Are you actually making sure that your tech and gear are being utilized to the max before you switch to the next thing? You have an optimized website where it's not loaded with heavy images and that kind of thing. And it's like, it's the little things. And that, what if you have an office, where's the power coming from? Is that renewable energy sources? All of those things. But those things really matter.
Yeah, they certainly do. When I talk a lot about net zero, and a question that I'm recently looking into is how possible it is to get to net zero. Is it possible, and can you do it quickly? What are your views on companies with net zero goals and how they're going about it?
I think it's absolutely possible. I think we firstly have to remember that net zero are the sum of the total efforts to get to zero. So it's not leaving no impact necessarily. I also think there's some businesses that will naturally have a higher impact, and then some businesses might be able to go net positive, and in that way we'll be able to hopefully even out. I do think it's possible, but I think it requires really careful action, and then just do it one step at a time. There's no doubt that there's an urgency behind this. I also think the political landscape needs to push hard for this. I also actually think they're doing some things right at the moment, but I don't think we have the time to sit and wait for the politicians to figure it out, because in the end of the day, they're sat there for 4 years and they also care about their careers. That's pretty clear. So businesses have a huge responsibility, first of all, but I also actually think they can do it. I heard this great, it was actually Cambridge, there was this great image of if sustainability were a ship. Have you heard this before? So if sustainability were a ship, you would have the financial industry be the fuel generating the, like making sure the things are going. You would have politicians at the steer, making sure we're set the direction of where we're going, and you will then have the businesses being the engines making it happen. And I think that's so true. I think the businesses are the ones that are going to make this happen.
Yeah, I really agree with that. And I think, if we just sit and wait for the politicians to make the changes and the decisions, then nothing's going to happen. And the businesses actually are the ones that can move forward, and they do have the right people in place to make this happen. Often people say, what is the point of me doing my bit? But if everyone thought like that, then we wouldn't be where we were. The last few weeks alone with the heat waves and the floods, it's just been crazy. And I think, even before you talked about the future and of the next generation, but we're seeing the effects of climate change right now, and we really need to put the brakes on, right?
It really is terrifying, but also so if you're seeing it from a purely selfish business perspective, which I have no problem with, if you want that business to thrive in the future and be relevant, you just have to care for sustainability, because otherwise someone else will come and take you over and you just won't be relevant, because you won't be able to exist in a world that is going on the path where we put it now.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of companies might start with the sustainability agenda because they're jumping on the bandwagon, but they're still going to get benefits out of being a more sustainable business. There's so many benefits to it, even especially now, cost savings because of their energy prices,
Oh, it's interesting. I wrote my master dissertation. So I studied finance and international business originally, very dry. And then I wrote my dissertation on lean process management in big organizations. And it's interesting because I think sustainability has an element of that, where it's really about going in and just cutting out everything that's not relevant. And we can see it with the clients. I should start a business model where I'm saying, what you're saving in cost, I'll just take as my profit, because there is so much cost savings in this.
Yeah, I agree. And also, especially at the moment, by being more sustainable and socially responsible, you're going to attract good talent, you're going to have good marketing messages, you're going to win new business. It's it ticks every single box, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, but companies often get it wrong, and you come from a marketing background, so I've got to ask you this, but how do you communicate and get it right? You must have seen some really big mistakes. I certainly have.
I know. I mean, have you all seen the latest Boho and ASOS getting dragged around by CMA, right? So we don't want to do that. But I actually made a post about this morning, which I think it's so important that we communicate sustainability. And I have clients saying oh, yes, we don't want to talk about it yet because we're not there. We're not ready to talk about it. And I actually think it's important to do it at a very early stage. But how we talk about it matters. Don't go out and proclaim that you reached some sort of destination, like you figured it all out. Don't go out and say, I get really angry when businesses go out and say, oh, by 2050, which is a million years from now, at least it feels like that, we are going to be net zero. Or like, it's like, that's like, what are you actually doing today, right? So I think we need to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? We need to be on a journey and talk about that journey. That also makes company real and relatable, and there's some fantastic stories in all of these efforts that you're doing that can inspire people around you to take action, and it just makes your business relatable. So I think communicate your actions, but do it through storytelling of things that you're actually doing. Do it honestly through, this was fantastic, this went so well, we're celebrating it, but along the way we had these bumps and we learned these things, and just continue doing it in that way. That's where I think it really has some nerve and some energy that you can use for something.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that, you know, where people are setting these 2050 goals to net zero, they're probably not even, the people that are doing it, they're not even going to be in their jobs in 2050, so they can't even manage it through. Yeah, it really should be, what are we doing now? What are we going to be able to do in the next 3 years to make a difference? And so that's so important. Do you think that we can, by doing what we're doing, that we can solve the climate crisis?
I keep insisting on saying yes to this question. The truth is, I'm hopeful. I think we have all the technology we need, right, to actually do this. We have all the innovations, we have the means, we have the clever minds. It's just a matter of how badly do we want it, and how soon do we badly want it enough, right? So if we want to switch and be green tomorrow, it will come with massive consequences of a financial crash, probably, because of all of these stranded assets that will be out there we can't utilize anymore. And we'll have to really quickly figure how we are powering all homes with green energy and that kind of thing. But if we really want it, yeah, we could do it tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so too. I just think sometimes I don't really understand what's going on in the world. Is there it sounds stupid, but is there a higher power that is stopping it because they're making this money? It's like, we could really make some drastic changes now. I just posted a video up actually about if we'd have continued with the solar power many years ago. We started with putting solar PV on roofs, and it halted. And if we'd have done that, if we'd have continued at the speed that we were, it's crazy. I just want to finish by asking you, you know, you work with businesses, if you had one piece of advice for a business that wanted to transition to become more sustainable, what would be your piece of advice?
Start today. Just insist on starting today. You just recognize you might not know anything about it, but that doesn't matter. And then maybe go back and do that exercise of saying, okay, what is my business actually doing? Start mapping it out. And then on top of that, if I can add a couple of extras, like check your energy supplier, check your bank, check your pension scheme, and then you're already on a roll.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jessie, and your insight.
It's been fantastic.
It's really been great, and please keep posting all the stuff. I learn so much from you all the time, and you know, keep doing what you do, and I wish you all the success. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you and everybody around on LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly.